Meanwhile, new questions over who's in and who's out at the first Republican primary debate happening next month. At least 6 candidates are now reportedly on pace to partially qualify to take the stage. You have President Trump, Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, Vivek Ramaswamy, Chris Christie, and Tim Scott. All of them reaching the polling requirements there. And this after the RNC clarified candidates need at least 1% support in 3 national polls or in 2 national and 2 early state polls. Still, President Trump, who leads them all by double digits, signaled he may not even show up for this. So let's bring in Mick Mulvaney, NewsNation political contributor and former acting White House chief of staff for President Trump. Mick, always good to see you. I'm eager to talk to you about this one. Any surprises here on the list for you?
Yeah, Marky, good morning. A couple of them. First, you got to give credit where credit is due. Vivek Ramaswamy looks like he's going to make the stage. There's something that I don't think most folks predicted when he announced for the race several months ago. So congratulations to him. Chris Christie, I thought, was a surprise. He got in the race very, very late, hasn't had a very high profile nationally for a long time, and has been running mostly on an anti-Trump campaign. So interestingly, there seems to be a market for a newcomer like Vivek Ramaswamy and for an anti-Trumper like Christie. Not sure if everybody would have predicted that several weeks back. And the third surprise, obviously, is the name that's not on the list, and that's former President Mike Pence. It looks like he's not going to have the requisite number of donors to make the list, at least as we sit here and have this conversation. That would be surprising that there is no market, apparently, yet, as we sit here for the former vice president.
Yeah, I know that you've said there's apparently a market for newcomers and hellraisers, but not the former vice president. Hey, President Trump has, he's threatened to skip the Milwaukee debate next month. He signaled he could even hold his own event, his own rally that very same evening instead. He even showed his latest polling numbers to one of his crowds recently, kind of looking at the poll numbers and saying to them, why would I even do that? Is his absence, though, is that a great opportunity for these other candidates on the debate stage that night, where Trump won't overshadow the night and maybe we clearly see someone emerge as a top contender to him?
It is. There's a risk to it. Look, there's 2 sides to it. The first side is what you just laid out, which is he's winning by a good bit. And if you're winning by a considerable amount, there's only downside to doing a debate. And Trump might be looking at this going, why would I help everybody who's trying to beat me when I'm winning so easily right now? The other side of that, though, Marky, is that he's only polling about 50%, which means that 50% of the Republican voters in Iowa are looking for somebody else. 50% of the Republican voters in New Hampshire are looking for somebody else. These are states he would still have to win in a general election. And if he completely ignores these folks during the primary, it could be a problem for him if he ultimately is the nominee. Keep in mind, Donald Trump is really good at winning primaries and not as good as he thinks at winning general elections. So he also runs the risk of upsetting the governor of Iowa, insulting the people by not showing up. So there's a bunch of reasons to show up. Plus, he likes the ratings, and I think he probably ultimately shows up for the show.
Sure, and we all know he can generate those ratings on his own. If he doesn't show up, let's play hypotheticals here, which I'm guessing he won't that evening. What's the attack strategy from the other candidates on stage? Do they attack him? Do they spend much of the evening doing that, or do they go after Ron DeSantis instead?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Here's how it looks like it's starting to shake out, Marky, and I never anticipated this. It looks like Chris Christie's going to do all of the attacking. Before Chris Christie got in the race, all the other candidates were looking at each other going, I don't want to attack Trump because I still need his voters, so why don't you attack him?
Right.
And then, no, you attack him. I want to attack him. But Chris Christie's getting in the race specifically, it seems, to attack Donald Trump. So you might see that dynamic continue to play out with the other 5 or 6 candidates on the stage simply talk about what they want to do, how they're different from Donald Trump, what they would do if they were president, how they're better than Joe Biden, and let Chris Christie do all the heavy lifting when it comes to attacking Trump. Should make for some compelling television if that turns out to be the case.
Yeah, it'll be fight night in Milwaukee. Mick Mulvaney, thanks so much as always. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Marky.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.